Hi, hello everyone, and welcome back to Haitian Talk. My name is Berthrane. It is still election season, local election. So hi. Today we have a special guest. We have Nicole McClain. She is running for consular at large for Lynn, Massachusetts. Now, the reason this person is very special to me is because I grew up with her. We attended the same school, and this woman, I must say, is remarkable. She has done a tremendous work in the community, and I am very lucky to have her with us tonight. Now, I am going to introduce you to Nicole.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Berthrane. Thank you for having me on Haitian Talk tonight. This was a very welcome invitation. So I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. So, Nicole, okay, so I was reading your profile, and it's very lengthy. And it's really nice. So here for a formal introduction, Nicole, you are a wife, mother of a 21-year-old, which I kind of resented when I read, because if you have a child that is 21 years old, that means you and I were getting older.
Yeah.
So I really didn't like it. I said, "Oh my God, 21 years already," but okay. And here's what more interesting: you are also a vet, and I remember when we were in high school, seeing senior year in high school, seeing these military, the Marines, the Navy, the Army recruiting people, and I remember I wanted to join the Marines, but I did not. But
I
you
did not know
and it,
that.
I did want to join the Marines. It was a childhood goal of mine, but I did not. But you are a veteran of the Army National Guard, and you were deployed. This I didn't know. You were deployed in 2004 for the Operation Iraq Freedom, OIF. And again, Nicole, in 2008, Operation Enduring Freedom.
That's right.
Um, you came home, thankfully, right?
Yes.
And
Nice and
you
safe.
went to I'm sorry.
I was like safe and sound.
Yes, and you graduated with a bachelor's degree in early education. And then you decided to run your own business for 6 years doing childcare, right? Childcare development,
That's
childcare
right. Out of
services
my home. Yep.
in Lynn, Massachusetts, right?
That's correct. And Lynn.
Okay. And here's the most important thing, I think. You also founded and you are the president of the North Shore Juneteenth Association, and you organized that for 6 years, right?
That's right.
It's been going on for 6 years.
Yep. Still going
Now,
strong.
so first question for you, Nicole. Why did you join the army?
I joined the army originally because I wanted to just have a better life. I wanted to do something different. I felt like if I wanted to improve my situation, that I had to step out of my comfort zone and do something different. And I went to my mom and let her know during my junior year in high school that I wanted to join the army. Now it was just the Army National Guard because I figured if I join the Army National Guard, I can serve my country at home. But once 9/11 happened, everybody was being deployed. So I ended up, going off to war in 2004 in response to 9/11.
So here's my question for you. Um, so where were you when 9/11 happened? I know where I was. I can't. I could tell you exactly where I was, exactly how I found out, exactly my reaction, who told me, right down to the emotion. So
Right.
where were
I
you?
thought it was fake. I was watching the news, getting ready for work actually. And my son was upstairs doing something. I was getting ready for work. And then I saw the first airplane hit and I was like, no way. I just didn't believe it. I was like, wow. And then when it finally sunk in, I was like, I am going to Iraq. I knew immediately that I was going to be deployed. Immediately, I
Oh,
knew it.
really?
Yeah.
Why is it because you are the reserve? Because I heard way back when that whenever there's a war, the reserves are the first deployed.
No, for me the National Guard meant national, like you stayed
Okay.
home and whatever, like you responded to whatever was domestic. Anything that was happening in America is what the National Guard in my idea was supposed to be responding to. But I for some reason when I saw that happen, I was like my life is going to change for definitely. I did not I just immediately knew that I was going to go somewhere. And I don't know why I felt that way, but I did.
You did.
Yeah.
So how long was it until you got the call? Was it right away, or was it in a couple of months?
We ended up leaving in 2004, my unit.
Okay, yes, that's true. You did
Yeah.
you did say that.
Yeah. So it was
Um,
a little while after. So,
okay.
yeah.
So here's my other question for you. Why did you decide to start the North Shore Juneteenth Association? Like, what compelled you? You came back home, right, safe and sound. Wait, first of all, how long were you overseas for when you were deployed
Uh,
in
the first
2004?
the first deployment was 18 months, and then the second deployment was another 18 months. So a little over a year each time.
Oh wow, no breaks in between, right?
Well, no, one was in 2004 and the second one was in 2008. So 2008 to 2009 and 2004 to 2005.
Okay,
And I did
okay.
have my son obviously was staying with my mom and his dad during
Oh
that time.
wow.
So it
Okay.
was very hard to be separated from him.
I could only imagine, especially as a mom. I mean, of course, a guy as well, but as a mom, you have your small child, and now you're
Right.
leaving your child for, well, they say a little over a year, but you really don't know what's going to happen because we were at war.
Right.
Anything could have happened to
Anything
you
could
when
have
you
happened.
were overseas.
Right.
Overseas, okay. So why did you start the North Shore Juneteenth Association? Like when you came home, you said, "All right, 2008, you came home. What's
Yeah, and
next?"
the first thing that was on my mind was starting the daycare. That's what I wanted to do initially. That's all that I was focused on. So I started the daycare, and then while the daycare was going very well, I started having you know, this nagging feeling that we needed to do something for Black Americans on the North Shore. I really felt like
Wow.
there's nothing going on for Black Americans. No, there aren't any celebrations happening of our culture on this side of Massachusetts. I just wasn't seeing anything. And I really wanted, something loud to happen, something that everybody could see and everybody knew, and people could like
Yeah.
share in the great things that Black Americans have contributed to the United States of America, because I feel like a lot of times stereotypes are prevalent around Black Americans, who we are, what we've done, what we don't do, you know what I mean? Things like that. So I wanted to just just refute some of those misconceptions. And initially, I started it because Juneteenth was something that I always celebrated in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
The holiday has always been celebrated at Franklin Field of Boston, and we would have to travel to Franklin Field in order to celebrate it. So I wanted to have something closer to home. And then once that was established, that's what I wanted to do, my son was then got into a conflict with the police. And
Really? Can
yeah,
you tell us a little bit more about that?
yes, he was thrown to the ground. He had a knee in his back. This is him walking home.
Wait, wait, wait. No. You can't just bypass that. Can you please start from the beginning? When was this? How old was he?
He was 16 at the time, and he was well, he wasn't walking home, he was walking with a friend to another friend's house, and I guess there was a altercation happened somewhere in the city, and the police officers were looking for a group of people who were a part of that altercation, and they had said that these young boys were, you know what I mean, were like they fit the description of the people that they were looking for. So they followed them all the way to the friend's house that they were walking to. And then once they got to the friend's house, the police officers told them if they don't get off of the steps, that they were going to arrest all of them. And then from there, it just got out of hand, I guess. People started walking away, and then they somehow grabbed my son, threw him to the ground, grabbed his friend. His friend got arrested. This is all a mistaken situation because it ended up being a group of girls that were fighting, not even young boys. So my son got thrown to the ground, a knee on his back. He was all dirty, and when he got home, he was so shaken up. We didn't know his father and I were sitting on the couch. He walks in, he has all this stuff all over him. He's clearly shaken up, like, and he's telling us this story. And we had to go down to the police department. Didn't get any real answers. The young boy that they arrested, they eventually let him go, but he did have to go to court and all these other things. You know what I mean? Like, in order to get this situation resolved. I'm not even sure if he has a record right now. He may, because of this mistaken identity situation. So,
And how old was that young boy, that young man? How old
I think
was
he was the same age as my son, either 16 or 17. Right. So this is like, I don't know if this was their first interaction with the police, but I know it was one of the earliest interactions. At 16 years old, these boys
You're
aren't
still a
really
minor.
exactly. They're not doing anything that the police need to be in their faces. And once that happened, I was like, this needs to stop. People need to stop treating Black people like, they deserve this type of treatment. Like, they fit the description. You don't even know who these boys are. You didn't stop them in a polite way and say, this is what we're looking for. Have you heard this? Have you heard about that? No, you immediately attack them and start hazing them and treating them in it just like they don't deserve to be respected. And that's what really fueled the fire, because before it was just an idea and I was playing with it, but then it became real serious for me to just push out positive images of Black Americans into the community.
I'm sitting here trying not to get emotional, but it's really difficult not to, because I hear I hear these stories, all the time
Right.
on television, but I have never met a person who has experienced it. And
Mhm.
okay, so I don't have any sons. I have a daughter. Okay, and I still have to remind her, although she's half white,
Mhm.
I still have to remind her that in the end of the day, she's Black.
She's Black.
She is
It's
she is
true.
Black. They will not see the Russian side of her. She has African features. She looks just like me, only lighter. You've seen her
Mhm.
picture on Facebook, and I have to remind her because um, she grew up, with a white dad. She's been to Russia several times, all white people, but she's always been accepted,
Right.
loved, and accepted by everyone. Okay, so the whole racism, she only heard about it, but she's never really seen it. She's never experienced it. So even the white friends I have always treated her well. So
Right.
she's never really. She's been. Let's just say this: she's privileged.
Right.
Oh,
She's
okay.
sheltered from that, but you do know it's out there, and you know that there is a chance that she may experience it. So you do have to prepare her, definitely.
Right. So when I told her this, I've been telling her this since she left preschool, since she started kindergarten, and she started telling me stories. She said, "Mom, she had a friend. Let's call him Fulano. Okay, she had a young friend, I think, in the third and fourth grade, and she said, "Mom, I found it very odd how the teacher would always yell at him more." Would speak differently to the other kids, but him, they would be a little tougher with him. I said, see, sweetheart, um, that's not right. But this is how sometimes, not everyone, okay, this is how sometimes we are treated. I can't tell her that I know this still around the lines of politics,
Right.
right, Nicole? I can't say that cops are racist. I
Right.
can't say that. I tell her some racist people become cops, become
True.
officers, become
And that's
lawyers and
perfect. That's the
doctors, and
perfect way to explain it.
because I don't want her to be afraid of police officers,
Right.
because I don't want her to associate the uniform with racism, because
That's
the
right.
uniform is not racist. Just some racist people
Becoming
became
police
police
officers.
officers. But I
Absolutely.
still tell her that she still has to be careful, because if someone mistreat her, she'll wonder, like, wait, what's wrong with
Wait.
you? Because she's always been treated kindly, but by every close white person she ever met. So thank you so much for sharing this story with me and with the audience. But I have to tell you that my heart is broken. Because unfortunately, this happened to your son once, and he's still a black man growing up.
Exactly.
So he's
Who
still a
has a
black. He's a
license
black
now?
man now. Now
Right.
he's
He's a
he's
black
he's not a
man. It's
he's
scary
not a
because he
minor.
has a license. He can be pulled over. He can, you know what I mean? It's just like he can just, you just don't know. It's so scary. You know what I mean? Every day, just wondering if he's all right. You know what I mean? And if he's, safe.
Take
So,
a deep breath when he comes home, like, whew, I
right.
didn't get
Yeah.
the call, right?
Right.
So thank you so much for sharing that. So I have a question for you. When you were starting the organization, what obstacles did you pushbacks obstacles did you experience?
Um, Surprisingly, I didn't experience much pushback initially. I mean, people would, drag their feet on answering some of the questions that I might have, or,
Hmm.
I would have to be persistent, you know what I mean, for sure, in order to get the things that I wanted. But as long as I, just kept on and they realized I wasn't going to go away and, things are going to
Mm.
keep on going the way that they're going, I was able to make some progress,
So you
so
had to prove yourself.
right, I had to
This
prove that I
wasn't
was
just a fad.
really
Remember that word?
serious. Exactly, exactly. So, initially when I went to the people that I thought were like, on these types of things around Black American issues, I didn't get much, initial support. I was like, people thought, I had to prove myself. I had to prove that I'm really serious and I really wanted to do this. So the first year was 2017 that we ended up having our first Juneteenth celebration. And as some of the viewers may not know what Juneteenth, the holiday, represents. So
So can
Juneteenth,
you explain that?
yeah, Juneteenth is a commemoration of the announcement of the ending of slavery in 1865. There were still slaves in Galveston, Texas, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. So those slaves found out 2 years later that about their freedom, and this on July 19th, I mean on June 19th, 1865.
Hmm.
And this Juneteenth is a commemoration of that announcement. So that's what this is all about. When the Juneteenth
Wow.
holiday was finally made a federal holiday last year. So now it's a holiday that all Americans, should be respecting and, observing now. So that's awesome as well. But it's a commemoration of that day.
So, who was your biggest supporters? Who, in the beginning of time, when you after you done proving yourself that you were serious? So, what organization, what government officials said, "Hey, Nicole, this is a great idea. We are on board. What do you need? How may we help you? How can we
I'm
make
going
this
to have to
happen?"
say my team is amazing first because they everybody was like, yes, let's do it. Whatever you wanted to do, especially my good friend April Diva Mosley. She was like all over it and still, shows up when I need her to. But as far as political figures, I'm gonna have to say Brendan Crichton. He really from the 2017, he's donated to it, and
Wow.
2018 he came out and gave us a citation and we
Who
took
is?
pictures with him, and he's a senator now. He was a representative, but right now he's a senator.
Okay,
Yeah.
because some people may not know who he is. Well,
Right.
that's
And Dan
great.
Cahill as well, Representative Dan Cahill as well was a supporter
From the beginning, right?
from the beginning. Yep. Yep.
That is nice. So here's the $1 million question. Why did you decide to run for city council for Lynn, at large for Lynn?
Because during the year 2020, I mean, you always hear about how, the local government is lacking representation, and how the needs of people of color are not being addressed. But during the year 2020, when we went to the local government for police reform and for racial justice issues, because of all the things that were happening during that year, and a lot of our local government officials weren't really privy to it. It's like they didn't know what was going on, and they had to be educated about it. So to see that, that's what really made me like, okay, somebody has to be a part of this local government in order to bring the voice of people of color to the table, because they're not educating themselves around these issues. And it doesn't seem like, if someone isn't there to add that to the conversation, that will always be missing. The needs of people of color in our community will always be missing from the decision making in our city. So that's how I felt. This is me, myself, feeling that way. And once I just got around that that feeling, I was like, I'll run. I'll do it. You know what I mean? If I didn't think that there were going to be many other people doing it, I was reaching out to other people to see if they were. I wasn't getting much of a response, so I
Response.
wasn't sure. You know what I mean? If anybody was going to go for it, so I went for it because I felt like it's much needed in our city.
So this is your first time running for local government, right?
This is my first time running. Yes, I've never
You
done
say
this
something. Well, you're doing a great job at it. Okay, so I'm supposed to be impartial when I'm talking about politics, right?
Right.
But and then I remember earlier, I said, wait a minute, I don't live in Lynn, and plus you are my former classmate. So go, Nicole. I was like, darn it, I don't live in Lynn,
Right.
and
I'm
you
not
are. I'm
doing
like,
anything wrong.
no, 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 no. I'm telling everyone, do you still live in Lynn? Yeah. So Nicole is running. you know, I'm like, who lives in Lynn? Does your mom still live in Lynn? Yeah, you gotta tell
Yep.
her.
Yep. My mom's
Hey,
still
okay,
living.
so I don't need to be impartial. I'm not in Lynn.
Okay,
So
so that's
yes,
awesome. Thank you for the
so I'm
encouragement.
running. Hey, come on. I'm like, that's my former classmate. So come
Yes.
on.
Thank you.
And this is my platform. I could do whatever I want.
Right.
So, but he said something that's very interesting. You said that you guys or we are not part of the conversation. And I was having this conversation with a friend of mine
Right.
concerned himself with tigers. What's going on with tigers? They might be
Oh,
they,
that's
they
true.
might be
I
living
didn't look
around
at
the
it like
same
that.
area. They're living in the same area. They'll pass each other. They will see each other. But the lion will only concern himself with the matters of other lions. When he goes hunting, he's not going to try to feed the tiger just because, well, the tiger didn't wasn't successful in hunting. No, he's going to go hunting and he's going to bring the food to who? His own pride.
Right.
So it's not just
Absolutely.
human nature; it is nature. That's the order of nature. No, now bringing it to human nature, we will only focus on our own. So it makes sense. I don't think it's really racism. I want to hear your thought. I don't think it's
Mm.
racism. I just think it's human nature. We
Right.
focus on our own first. So basically, if we don't do what you're doing, right? Run
Right.
for local office and get a seat at the table, we should not expect the decisions that are made will benefit us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I was speaking to a woman the other night about this because she said that there was a woman she was speaking to who was on the fence about voting for me. And the reason why she was on the fence was because I'm angry sometimes. I speak with like I'm an angry person or whatever at times. And
Mm-hmm.
when I heard that, I was like, the difference between me and our current local officials is that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not about only helping the people that I know and the struggles that I know about. You know what I mean? Like that's not what I'm about. If she was to call me, if I got this seat and she was to call me and tell me, "Oh, there's a light out on my street or there's something happening," you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in my neighborhood that I don't like, I would actually attempt to get her help. I would advocate for her help. So but if my people call certain local officials, they will not get that help. And that's what the problem is. The problem is that we're excluded sometimes from the conversation. It's not even that we don't try to become a part of the conversation, or that we're not out there picketing and making noise and saying what we need. It's
Right.
more that it's ignored, or it's just not considered. You know what I mean? You know what's happening. You know that there's homeless people. You know that there's people that are addicted to drugs. You know there's issues with affordable housing in the city. You know all of these things. It's not that you don't understand that it's happening. It's more that you don't care that it's happening, or that you're avoiding it because it's not, like you said, a part of your pride's problem. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not the problem that's being faced by your particular people, but as a government official, you're serving all of the people, not just your own. And
Right.
I have things
Ideally.
that, yeah, I have things that are near and dear to my heart. Of course, racial justice, affordable housing, and climate change. All these things are like near and dear, and I'm there for them. You know what I mean? But if somebody says to me, "This is happening," next door, and I can do something about it, I will try to do something about it, even though it's not something that's on my radar. I'm being educated about it, and I'm saying, and now someone's bringing it to me, so now it's an issue that I need to deal with as a government official. You know what I mean? Now, if it's just you and I'm not running for office. It's just you and I. We're both Black women. You have a business. I have a business. We're gonna celebrate each other. You know what I mean? We're not gonna invite anybody to that celebration. That's gonna be our celebration for ourselves, because we're not part of the public. We're not, addressing the public. We're just trying to take care of each other. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. If we're just regular people, of course we don't have to deal with, the issues of people in general. We just have to deal with ourselves. And I just think that's what our local government officials, all government officials, should think. Should feel that way. Like, I'm here to represent everyone, not just the people that got me here and voted for me, but even those that didn't vote for me, because now I'm here. You know what I mean?
Right. That's a great explanation. But you're right. This is an issue that we have been going through for some time now, and I'm trying to share this video. I'm trying to share this again
Oh, okay.
to see. Were you able to share it on your platform?
I just shared the I just shared that it was the event, because it said going live soon. So I was
Mm-hmm.
hoping that the event would then show up as live.
We'll just kick in.
Right. But if you're
Let's see.
recording it, you can always upload it.
But it should be. It should be. Um, no, not yet. So here's my. Uh,
Yeah, I definitely never heard it put that way about the pride and how, you're going to take care of your own, and that has opened my eyes a little bit. But at the same time, I feel like Black people have really been, trying to be at the table a lot. Look at the civil rights movement. Look at all of the women that fought for us to be able to vote. You know what I mean? Look for at various disenfranchised groups that have been knocking on the doors of government and trying to get their needs met. You know what I mean? So many years. It's just like, but being excluded anyway. So it's not that it's not for, we're not represented because of lack of trying. We're not represented because of the power being in the hands of people who have decided that we don't need to be represented. And us being represented is a threat.
hold on one second. I think 1 second. Let me make sure this is being. Oh, here we go. So So to continue that, sorry about that. I had to just check something real quick. Um, Granted, we do have a lot of issues with discrimination in our community. And
Mhm.
many people said, well, Black people have been conditioned for for hundreds of years, right?
Right.
So at the same time, white people have been conditioned for the same amount of years
Yep.
as well.
Yep.
See, does that make sense?
Yes, that makes complete
So,
sense.
right. So I was having this a conversation with a friend. I said, white people have been conditioned. So 1965, that's when the affirmative action, you know, came about, right? So 1965 was only yesterday in
Right.
comparison to how long we were slaves for, right? So now, 1965 affirmative action, what it basically did was tell white people, now you have to accept these Black people.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of like shoved us right
Right.
in there and say, you need to, hey, John, you need to accept Nicole. It doesn't matter the color of her skin, the texture of her hair,
Mm-hmm.
if she's qualified. And then, everyone said, well, wait a minute, because I was conditioned,
Right.
right, for generation. And there's what, 4 generation per 100 years. So how long were we slaves for?
Right. 400 years.
Oh,
400.
400 years. Okay,
Mhm.
so how many generations?
Right.
If
And
there's
then
so
after we were slaves, we were also discriminated against.
no, let's not even talk about after just doing so. Basically, blacks were conditioned, but white were also conditioned. And
Right.
then, some all of a sudden, affirmative action is saying you need to accept these people.
Right.
And so this is a slow progress, and it
Mm-hmm.
might take another 50 or 100 years, but it has to be a consistent, because slavery was consistent for
Right.
hundreds of years.
Right.
So this is why it's awesome seeing people like yourself running for office, and Bukia, of course, not only a Black woman but also an immigrant,
Yeah.
um,
Amazing.
running for office, saying, hey, we are not well, I am not what you think we are. Listen, we are human beings. We all should be treated equally. I know we were conditioned, and I know you were conditioned as well. So is this consistent movement? So that's why when I read your profile, I said, this is great. I know a couple of people, I think in Everett or Somerville, this other Haitian woman is also running for office. So you're right. This is our time, not just sitting home and wondering, who's going to carry the torch. You
Right.
just got up and say, you know what, the torch is right there. I'm right here. So I'm
Right.
just going to pick up the torch and, and carry it. And hopefully more people will come and help me carry this torch.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
here's the other question, and that's the topic of this video. Um, can you tell the audience the difference between diversity and inclusion? You did talk a little bit about it, but
Okay.
explain a little bit more in terms of, the schools, the resources, decision making. What's the difference between those two,
Well,
based on what you have seen and experienced, starting from the military
right.
to where you are now running for office?
All right. So I mean, when you come to Lynn, Massachusetts, this is one of the most diverse cities on the North Shore, right?
Even
So
when we were growing up, it
even
was
when we were growing,
really
exactly, it's
diverse.
always been a very diverse city, and we've benefited from that. Honestly, I mean, knowing that there's these being exposed to all these different cultures has really made us more well-rounded people and made us be able to really embrace people rather than be afraid of them. But diversity is what you see in Lynn. You see Haitians, Russians, Cambodians. That's diversity. All these people all together. You know what I mean? Chinese
Hmm.
people. You see everybody together. That's diversity. Inclusion is when you see those people as a part of the systems that govern them, as a part of the systems that educate them. So when you look at Lynn, Lynn is a prime example of diversity without inclusion, right? There's no one in local government. Well, there is. There's HongNet. We have a white woman, Diana Chakutis. We have Buzzy Barton. They're all on those are three people that are of color or women on our local government, but it doesn't represent the city itself. We're a minority majority city, so I can name three people that could speak to inclusion that are on the local government of how many do we have? I think we have 17 local government officials, and there's three that can speak to inclusion. So when you're included, I mean, the teachers as well, we have way more teachers that are, Caucasian.
People of no color.
Yeah, exactly. Then we do have people of color that are teachers. We do have a superintendent right now who's a Black man, and that's an accomplishment. You know what I mean? Oh, we also have Michael Satterwhite, who is on the school committee, but I'm talking about the people that are in like the counselor at larges and the ward counselors. We don't have many people of color representing our city. So for me, inclusion means you are a part of government, you are a part of education, you are a part of the court system as well. You are included in what makes the city go, what makes the city work. You're not just living there and making the city more diverse. You know what I mean? You're also a part of its fabric and what makes it happen. So that's what's missing in our city.
See, this is great, but I've always been the type of person who I would hold myself accountable and for decisions that I have made or didn't make. And I always teach my friends, okay, or advise my friends to also be accountable for their own actions as well. We can't just sit and blame it on everyone else, So here's my question. Why most people are not interested in politics? That's the question I had to ask myself. Okay. Because I was never interested in local politics. Okay. So I'll vote for the next president. But to be honest with you, Nicole, I was not the type of person who would go out and vote for local officials. My husband was the one who started pushing me into it. When I lived in Malden after I graduated with my undergrad, I moved to Malden until 2017 when I decided to move back to the North Shore. And I cannot tell you who my ward counselor or counselor at large was. Right. I'll be honest. I can't tell you to this day because I was not involved. Why wasn't I involved? Because it was never a conversation.
Exactly. Growing up. Right. And that's what I was going to say. I was going to say growing up, it's not embedded in us. Our parents don't vote. Their parents don't. It's not something that's passed down, to us. And I see white people bringing their kids to vote. I see them making it something that their household does. You know what I mean? Like they don't miss it. You know what I mean? Like they bring their kids to vote because as children, they were brought. As children, you know what I mean? Like it's the generations after generations after generations have been.
I know exactly what you mean by that.
Exactly. So I was looking at a book the other day that said in 1877, there was a president named Rutherford Hayes, and he took away the military that were there in the South to make sure Black men could vote after the 15th Amendment had been passed. So the 15th Amendment had passed. Black men were able to vote, not Black women or white women. I mean, but Black men were given the opportunity to vote. So then they started voting in huge numbers. And they changed the way that the government was working. This is in 1870 to like 1876, I want to say, around that time. So, and they were being protected by the military so that they weren't discriminated against, so that they could go to the polls and nobody would stop them. But in 1877, this Rutherford Hayes, this president, took the military out of the South. And that put a halt on all the voting for the for Black men. So they were no longer, now they were being discriminated against. Now they had to pay to vote. Now they had to take all these tests before they could vote. You know what I mean? Because all the red tape started because there was no consequence. Now the military was pulled out. You know what I mean? So once that happened, huge numbers of Black people stopped voting altogether, just stopped. So it went from like 700,000 Black people had registered all the way down to like the low thousands, probably like 20, 19,000 people were still voting. And then it just kept on diminishing from there. So it's very like, I feel like the reason why we're not really engaged is because we've been so like just
conditioned.
rooted, yeah, exactly. So like, it's not for me. This is not something that's for me. I don't want to deal with that because that's not what it's there for. It's there for them and what they want to do. You know what I mean? But I feel like now like you said, this is our time. We need to take advantage of this time that we have right now and really start teaching our children about voting, start, really just educating ourselves more about what it is that we need to do. And local elections are so important. They're way more important than the presidential election,
Exactly. And that's
because they
exactly what I
speak to
said.
things that happen to us directly, So we really need to just educate ourselves more and make it a tradition. And that's what it's never been a tradition in my household, in my culture, where I grew up. It wasn't a tradition. So that's why I never was interested in it either until a couple of years back.
Right. You said two things here that's interesting that I can really relate to. Number one, well, you said, we're not interested. When you are an immigrant, mind you, I'm from Haiti, and you know what's happening in my country.
Yes.
I ask a couple of people, do you know who your ward councilors are? And one of the guys who are Haitian, he's like, no, I don't get involved in politics because I might die. And I had to say to him, I said, you're not in Haiti anymore. You are in the United States. So when you are from a third world country like myself, right, our parents don't talk about politics because let me give you a little bit of background. My mom was married, and both of her husbands, they both died. Why? Because they were into politics. Right. So, and you know how it is in third world countries, well, countries with no democracy. If you are for one party, well, people from the other party, they'll kill you. Basic. So my father was also into politics. And when I say into politics, I'm not talking about running for office or anything. They just said publicly that they are for Nicole McClain and not for Bertha Cartwright. So therefore, Bertha Cartwright and her goons will go and kill that person. Wow. So the reason my father survived, with my mom's help, was snuck out of Haiti to the Dominican Republic because we had family there. That's how he survived. And then when things cooled down, he went back to Haiti and then came to the United States. So when you're talking about immigrants, a lot of them are not involved in politics. Well, those who grew up in their own country, to them, they still assume that, well, if I get involved, I'm going to die. And I have to remind them, no. People might try to kill you on social media if you make any comments.
Because it's also inherent in immigrants as well that politics is dangerous or not for them or something that they shouldn't be associated with. So even in other countries, Black people are learning to stay away from, participating.
To this day.
Yeah, even in other countries. So it's like, so you come here and you're still like, oh no, I don't want to be bothered.
You heard what happened to the Haitian president, right? He was mutilated eyes while he was still alive. So I heard while he was still alive, okay, his eyes were gouged out. He was tortured and then he was killed, Nicole. Okay, the president of the country. So that's how dangerous it is. And it's not just Haiti. Of course, we'll hear more about Haiti because Haiti is the closest country, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. So of course, we're going to hear more about it. But if you go into Africa, countries it's the same thing.
Yes, it is.
It is the same thing. But and the second thing you said was children voting with their parents. My husband have been taking our little one to vote since she was 4 years old, and we have pictures of her.
That is so
he would take her and put the put the pencil in her hand and say, okay, you need to color in this little circle, and you see with her big hand, with her little hand, and coloring it. And then you see her walking out with the "I just voted" sticker with her chest up in the air,
Yes, this
all
is so
proud of herself.
important. It's so important. And you see how like she's proud of it. You know what I mean? She's proud that she has that sticker. She's proud that she, colored in her circle,
She
even though
voted.
right, exactly. And she's like, I did that. That was me. You know what I mean? And that's what starts it. You know what I mean? That's what makes sure you become a voter as you grow up, as you grow older. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So it is our responsibility. We have to be held accountable, and you held yourself accountable. So instead of sitting there and saying, well, will Tom, Jerry, Susan, or Mary do something, you say, hey, I'm Tom, Susan, Mary, so let me get up and do something. And I think that is what we need to focus on more, instead of blaming other people for making decisions that don't favor us. We need to start working smarter, not necessarily harder, but smarter, to get ourselves at the table, in that boardroom, at the table, and start making changes. But let me ask you a question, though. Do you think that maybe founding the Juneteenth Association is also driving a divider, putting a divider between us and the rest of the community? Because here we are, one breath we're fighting for inclusion, right? And in the next breath, we are creating our own organization that other people can join, but it's ours.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Don't you think that's a little bit contradictory?
I actually don't, because I feel like you said, people can share in it, and I feel like it's information, and it's an organization that is educational. You know what I mean? I'm here, and we're here to educate the community about things that they don't know. I mean, people come to our website and they find out about, like I had told you, the Black women that fought for suffrage. A lot of people don't even know that Black women were a part of that, the suffrage movement. You know what I mean? They just see that, it's the centennial for the suffrage movement, and they think of Susan B. Anthony, and they think of, the white women that, really championed that movement, but they don't think of the Black women. So it's something that, is positive, and that all cultures can share in. So I don't think that it's divisive. I think it's educational. I'll settle on it being educational, rather than, I'm not saying no one else can help us, spread our mission. So I don't feel like it's divisive. I feel like I'm saying, come and open your mind, and, be a more well-rounded individual by learning these things and taking these lessons with you.
So you are inviting, I know you are part of the Latino community as well. So I want to assume that you are inviting other groups, other ethnicities to, like you said, be educated, right? Because it seems to me that a lot of us don't really know the real history, our real history.
Right.
We have the, can I say, watered down version, the maybe a blimp or a summary of what happened, but not a lot of the key players.
Right. Well, none of the key players that were, that represent us, that look like we look, you know what I mean? Like, and they were there, they fought too, they were a part of it, they were a part of the progress that America and other countries too have suppressed information that, is really important to the people in their countries as well. So it's not just America that's doing this, but I feel like if anybody knows something that will edify a group of people and make them more prideful in themselves, then they should share that information. You know what I mean? And build that person or that group up. You know what I mean? Like, because I think a lot of people feel, because they don't see themselves in certain areas, that they don't belong there. And, maybe it's just for a lack of knowledge. Maybe there are people that have been there where you want to be, that look like you, but you have to dig for that information. And then once you find that information, you should share it with the world, because then you'll be, inspiring someone else.
That's awesome. So, um, when you are elected, I'm not being impartial at all. When you are elected as counselor at large, I'm calling it out.
Yeah.
When you are elected, what will be your goal, your first goal once you are elected for community development, inclusion, the association? Like, what will be your goal, Nicole? What's the first thing on your list?
My first thing that I would want to do is bring local organizations to the table immediately. There's so many nonprofit organizations in our city that are doing great work around affordable housing, immigration. They're doing great work around homelessness, drug addiction. I want to bring those organizations to the table to speak to local government officials and to inform them on the decisions that they can make to improve our city in those areas. That is my first like thing that I want to do, is just really bring those great minds to the table so that local government officials can hear from them and learn from them and make better decisions for our community.
Oh, that's great. So, how are you going to mobilize the community? I'm
I'll
not
be
talking about just the organizations,
Mhm.
everyone else doing post election season, because it seems now there's a lot of talk about
Mhm.
inclusion, um, getting things done for the community, but once November 2nd is over, how are you going to, as the city councilor at large, how are you going to continuously motivating the community to get involved in politics? One thing I always say is, you may
Mhm.
not be into politics, but politics is deeply into you.
That's for sure. And that has been a topic of discussion for the last couple of days. I've been just talking to people and they're like, we're too late when we start running for office and promoting that we're doing these things. We're already too late because, we should be doing it year round. We should always be doing it. We should always
That's
be
what I said to
educating.
Dominguez.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's where that's when the thought came from.
yeah, it's true because I learned that on this campaign trail. I'm already too late. I should have been. Well, I didn't know I was going to run for office. First off, it wasn't something that I had planned on doing. But if it was my plan, I should have started this like January 1 of 2020. You know what I mean? Like it should have been. It needs to be happening all year. We need to be in the schools because every school has high school has like a government bought the government education, and they're teaching these children about government. But I don't see our local officials going into those schools, having a government day, having a day in the a day with a local official or something. You know what I mean? Like there's so many outside of the box things that we can do as local government officials to make sure that we're educating our youth about local government and what it does, how it functions, things like that. So I think I would start with partnering with our school committee members and trying to create something where our youth are more involved first. And then, getting our website together the city website as a resource for people to always see when elections are happening, sending out newsletters, things like that too. But I would really love to start with our youth first and empower them.
It's so funny. Wow. I knew I liked you. I had this conversation with Domingo, and he said after November 2nd, we will discuss it because, Salem, Massachusetts, the two major groups are whites and Hispanics, and then blacks. I think we have maybe 3,000, right, roughly. So there's not a lot of
Same in Lynn. The
blacks
majority is Hispanic, and then white,
still.
and then black is like 13%.
Right. So, and I was talking to Domingo, and what we found, a lot of Hispanics are not registered to
Right.
vote,
That's
and that
right.
is an issue. And we had the same exact conversation we're having. I said, Domingo, we have to start in the schools.
That's right.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting you saying this. And I said, well, yeah, we need to start in the schools. We need to start in the fifth grade. I think I actually asked him that question during our interview. Maybe what we need to do is, starting freshman year, ask him, who's your ward counselor? Have that as an extra bonus question on the extra point question on the test,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who's your ward counselor? Do you know what ward you live in?
Right.
Who can you name 2 or 3 counselors at large? Name of your mayor. If you're in elementary school, what is the name of your mayor for extra credit?
Right.
Just make it fun.
I
You know,
mean, when you're
starting
elementary school,
elementary.
you can tell me who the president is. You know,
Of
so
course,
why can't you tell me who your mayor is right here in your city? You know what I mean? So it's really important. That's true. We got to start with the kid.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Start in elementary school. Ask them, do you know what ward you live in?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
in
love
high
this
school, they
idea.
should, right. And Domingo said, after November 2nd, we will discuss this further, but that's where it needs to start, because when
Absolutely.
they become adult, I'm not going to say it's too late, but I will say it is a little bit more challenging, because I have a few neighbors here who
Mhm.
are Dominican and never been in politics,
Right. And you
doesn't know
when you
anything.
become an adult, you get more set in what you do and what you don't do. You believe that
Exactly.
I don't do that, and you believe that, and that's just what you don't do. You know what I mean? So, and nobody can change your mind as an adult, or expand on that unless they, like you're doing, keep on banging at your door and saying it over and over again. But we definitely need to start with the young people. And now you can vote at
Absolutely.
18 years old. I don't even think our a lot of people in our school system know that. Like a lot of our high school students probably don't even know that at 18 they can vote, because you know what, we're too late, and we should have been doing this, so much longer ago, and we could have got a lot of new high school students as voters. You know what I mean? And having them come out at 18 years old and casting their first vote for whomever it is that they want to vote for. It
So
was
here's
21.
an
Now it's
idea.
18.
Here's an idea for you, okay? And it would be nice if you include me in this when you decide to do it. I think that one of the things that you can do once a kid becomes 18 years old, um, they should bring the voter registration, prove to their teacher that they registered, and they can skip homework for 3
Or
days
something. Absolutely. They get like something for that. Absolutely.
just
I
to be
agree with
just
you.
because you registered to vote. Hey, 3 days, no homework, and choose
Right.
3 classes. Math, that's fine. You don't have any homework. Um, now you know which
I love it.
subject was my worst, right? So yep, I'll take math. I'll take science. What else is on there? 3 days. I'm good. No test, no homework, nothing for the week. Hey, I would be going down
Right.
there.
And making
August
sure
19th
you
is my
registered.
birthday. August 19th is my birthday. If that's on a Saturday, come Monday morning. I'll be waiting in front
I'm
of City
telling
Hall,
you.
wherever I have to
Yeah.
go to register.
Yep.
You
I
have to make
completely
it
agree.
fun,
Yeah, I completely
because
agree with
politics is
you.
boring, right?
Yes, it's boring. It is, and I understand people don't want to hear my voice one more time. I was calling people before I got on with you, just doing phone baking and calling people and letting them know come out November 2nd. And you can tell people don't really want to speak to you about it. You know what I mean? They're tired. They, whatever, because but it's a necessity. The big decisions are being made, and you want people in there that are gonna have everyone's best interest at heart.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm really excited for you, because I know, I have to say this. So you have been working tirelessly. I have been following your vote for Nicole page, Nicole for Lynn page,
Yep.
and you are hard at work campaigning. And we don't know what the outcome is going to be, right? But Nicole, I have to say this too. As a woman, as a Black woman, an immigrant, but most importantly, as your former classmate, I am proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm really, really proud of you. And like I said, we don't know what the outcome is going to be. And I know that if you become consular at large, it will make things much easier for you, because you will have a seat at the table.
Absolutely.
But based on what I have seen you accomplish thus far, Nicole, and I'm going to name them now for our audience. Okay.
Okay.
This is what you have done. Okay. Um, During the COVID pandemic last year, you helped to create the food delivery program with the North Shore Labor Council. You helped reinstate the Human Rights Commission, bringing body cameras to the police department in Lynn. Okay. Facilitating and organizing business development events for women business owners of the NSLBA. Okay. You are a member of the Lynn Human Rights Commission, Lynn Racial Justice Coalition, the city's, you are the, or you were, right? I'm not sure if you're still on board. The city's first ever diversity, equity, and inclusion officer, right?
I helped to bring the first
Okay.
diversity, equity, inclusion officer to the city of Lynn.
Okay. Commissioner on the Essex County Commission on the Status of Women. Okay. In your recognition, you were recognized by the Boston Globe as a local hero, and I 100% agree. And you were nominated as Black Excellence on the Hill by Senator Brandon Crichton. So, Nicole, looking at your resume, even if you don't have a seat as a city councilor at large for Lynn, it's not going to stop you. It might be a little bit more difficult, but seeing what you have accomplished, I'm not going to say it's going to be smooth sailing, but I think it's going to get a little easier because you have notoriety.
Yeah.
You have respect. You worked really hard to earn these. So thank you so much. I know our generation may not necessarily appreciate what you have done, but what you are doing is planting a seed for our kids and our grandkids and our great grandkids to come. Because when Harriet Tubman and your Sojourner Truths and everyone else, when they were risking their lives to do what they did, they weren't doing it for themselves. They knew most likely they're going to die. They did it for you. They did it for me. They did it for our children. So that's where I place you.
Oh, thank you. That's
Okay.
amazing. That is amazing. Thank you,
You've
Bertha.
earned
Thank
it.
you for having me here tonight. I really think we had such a great conversation. The things that we spoke about were like, mind opening for me and for you. I believe that we both fed off of each other, and we got to see some insight from two different point of views, and we're both Black women. So I really think that was an amazing conversation. And thank you so much for having me tonight. I appreciate it.
Right. This is just one of many conversations. I told Domingo and Stephanie that as well. And I'm going to tell you that this is just one of many conversations. Progress happens if we continue to progress.
Right.
We have to keep the work. We can't just have this conversation one time. We have to update the community. They're going to want to know, or they're going to think, okay, so we had this conversation. What's going on?
What's
What's the
next?
update? Where are we? And how do I get involved? So I'm super excited for us, and I'm excited for you, and I'm proud of you. So thank you so much for sticking your neck out for us.
Thank you so much,
Okay,
Bertha.
and it's not just for us;
Can I
it's
let
for
people know
everyone.
where they can find the North Shore Juneteenth
Oh no,
Association?
not only that. Yes, absolutely. Please tell them that.
All right. So the North Shore Juneteenth Association is on Instagram and Facebook at nsjuneteenth.com. And if you just Google us, you'll find our website. It's very long, so I don't have that whole thing with me. And as a counselor at large, you can find me at Nicole for Lynn on Instagram and also Facebook as well. And the website is NicoleForLynn.com, so you can learn
Yes.
more about me and what I do.
I am going to continue posting it. And when you do win, I'll be sure, not impartial, not tonight, buddy. I'm going to be sure to post it on Facebook. So thank you so much for all your work. And I will continue watching you do your work, continue doing everything that you're doing. So thank you so much, Nicole. I know you're very busy, but yet you decided to take the time with us. And thank you, everyone. I hope the stream went through. If not, I'm just going to post the video. If the stream did not go through, don't worry about it. You get to watch it later on. And if you are, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Berthrain Cartwright Platonova, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.